Have you always wanted to play a Brewmaster Monk in World of Warcraft, but maybe you find it a little bit too complicated and you don't really know what to do with the rotation or when to use the cooldowns? Well, then I got you. In this video here, I will show you how you can utilize the Single-Button Assistant together with the Brewmaster Monk and how you can min-max with the Single-Button Assistant and have a very chill time playing a tank, basically. Also, funny enough, Brewmaster Monk is currently the best tank according to various meta lists at the moment, if that's something you care about. But in this video here, I will go through the stats, the talents, the rotation, and even show you a little glimpse of gameplay. So when you have watched this 30-minute video, you'll know how to play the Brewmaster Monk with the Single-Button Assistant. When it comes to stats, I always recommend the highest eye level / upgrade level. And why? So what I mean basically is that if you look at, for example, my pants, you can see they are currently the upgrade level called a champion. You got adventure, veteran, champion, hero, myth. And whenever I got, for example, another pair of pants, I would never go down. I would never go down to adventure or veteran, even though they had better secondary stats. Because agility is such an important stat, and also stamina. Agility basically increases like your stagger, your damage, your armor, with the eye level that each of the items comes with. You know, just eye level / upgrade level, agility, whatsoever. It's just such an important stat for you. So, you know, always go with the highest upgrade level. Then, when you actually get then a pair of pants, which for example has the same upgrade level as the one you already had, that is when you're going to be looking at the secondary stats. So what should we be looking for? The first one is Critical Strike. Critical Strike, it's very rare that it's actually the best one for different classes or specs, but for a Brewmaster Monk, it is such an important thing. So Critical Strike stands for extra effectiveness on attacks and heals. So basically, whenever you deal an attack or when you heal, there's a chance for you to actually deal like double damage, double healing. But we also got a passive in here, which is such an important thing. You have a chance to equal to your Critical Strike chance to be healed for an additionally 7% of the amount healed. Which means whenever you get healed, there is a, well, depending on how much you actually have Critical Strike, which is currently I only have 20 right now, which isn't so good. But if I, for example, so let's say I have 20 Critical Strike, that means every time I get healed, there's a 20% chance that I will get healed by an additionally 7% of what I got healed. So imagine someone cast a 100k healing on me, boom, 100k, then the Critical Strike procs, and it will heal additionally 70k on top of it, which is insane. So of course, crit helps you dealing more damage, but it also gives you just more healing from every source of healing, which is insane. So a lot of people don't know this, but this is very important. Secondly, we have Mastery. So basically, Mastery has it has a little thing that I need to explain. So each time you're hit by a melee attack or you hit with Blackout Kick, you gain a stacking 20% increased dodge chance until you next successfully dodge. Also, it increases your attack power, so passively it increases your attack, but it also keeps giving you more dodge percent chance until you actually dodge, and it will reset. So just like passively just keep, like, you know, every time, like, it just increases your dodge, make sure that you dodge a lot of different attacks, and it also increases all your damage, which is very nice. Another reason why we like dodge is, for example, we have this one here. When you dodge or parry an attack, you reduce all damage taken by 8% for the next 6 seconds. So again, this just like every time we basically increase our dodge chance, and when we actually dodge, it reduces all damage we take by 8%, which is amazing. Also, each time you dodge or an enemy misses you, your next Tiger Palm or Spinning Crane Kick deals 100% increased damage. So, you know, just sort of small things that can just make the entire like thing go up. Then we have Versatility. It flat out increases the damage you do and also the healing you do, and it reduces the damage you take. So for example, if you have 5% Versatility or 10% Versatility, you will deal 10% more damage, 10% more healing, but half of it will be damage you also reduce to yourself. So for example, you will, if you have 10% Versatility, you will take 5% less damage from everything, but you will deal 10% more damage, which is quite nice. So when it comes to haste, so the interesting thing here is that the Single-Button Assistant is basically increasing our global cooldown. So that means every time normally you use a spell, it has a global cooldown of 1.5 seconds, and the Single-Button Assistant is going to increase that to 1.8 seconds. But energy-based class specs like Windwalker Monk, Brewmaster Monk, Feral Druid, and also Rogues is actually having a different global cooldown than anyone else in the game, because they kind of like use like spells very quickly. They actually have a global cooldown on 1.0 seconds, like just 1 second, and that one can actually not be lowered or increased with stats. It's just always 1 second. So when using the Single-Button Assistant with an energy class like a Feral Druid, Guardian, not Guardian, Feral Druid, Brewmaster Monk, and so on, it's actually with the global, with the Single-Button Assistant, it's 1.25 second global cooldown. And haste is not going to reduce that. It is locked on 1.25. But funny enough is that you can see here, when I use Expel Harm, you will see that my global cooldown is going to be very fast done, because you can see here that's like 1 second difference. But when I use my Vivify, then all my global cooldown is low. So that basically means the spells that is like rotationally, that is inside your rotation and is actually used for like harming and like, which is supposed to be a rotation spell, is affected by this, which means they have a 1.25 global cooldown with the Single-Button Assistant, though Expel Harm is not inside the Single-Button Assistant, so that one will still be 1 second. But spells like Vivify is still going to be 1.5 seconds, so technically haste is actually reducing the global cooldown on Vivify. But I mean, that's not really important, because the spells inside your Single-Button rotation is the important spells. So just to tell you, haste is not reducing the global cooldown with the Single-Button Assistant on a Brewmaster Monk, because it's already down on 1.25 because of how energy classes works. But of course, haste is still helping you with increasing your attack speed, your spell casting speed, and also the energy regeneration. So it still makes your class kind of like feel faster. But again, even with the meta, haste is just the worst stat when it comes to Brewmaster Monk. It's not bad, but it's just not, the most rewarding one. When it comes to talents, we're using 2 different builds. We have a dungeon build and we have a raid build. The dungeon build is the one I would recommend for basically anything you do in the game, leveling, dungeon, delves, and so on. And then the raid build is the one I would recommend for only doing raids. The main difference between these 2 builds is that the dungeon build is using the Shadow Pan, which has way more better AoE damage and also more passively reduction in damage, because every time you dodge, you will reduce all the damage, or dodge a parry, you will reduce all the damage you take for by 8%. For the next 6 seconds, but you can imagine when you pull a group of 5 mobs, you're going to be dodging a lot, which is basically making this one here stay on you forever, like 100% uptime. Then we of course also deal a lot of AoE damage with Flurry Strikes, which is also increased by Shadow over the battlefield, so we're going to just be dealing a lot of like additional damage to everyone. And Shadow Pan is definitely dealing the most damage when we talk about +2 targets. When it's single target, they actually deal equal amount of damage, it's kind of the same. But when it comes to multiple targets, Shadow Pan is winning in damage, and it has this buff on all the time, which is insane, especially for like dungeon and delves and so on. But in the raid build, we're using Master of Harmony, which has more control on the battlefield, you could say, because bosses, they have like, raid bosses, they have like phases where they're going to deal a lot of damage and so on. So it's nice to be able to control the battlefield that way. So when going into the raid build here, we are then instead utilizing a lot more. Let me show you in 2 seconds. For example, we have the spell here called Celestial Infusion, which basically absorbs 30% of incoming damage up to 42k. With Master of Harmony, we now have 2 charges of these. Also, when we use Celestial Infusion, we passively we are storing a lot of vitality in our body with Master of Harmony, and when we use that Celestial Infusion, we release it and deal a lot of more damage over time to the target we're attacking. So now Celestial Infusion will be both a spell that increases your damage you're dealing, but it will also have 2 charges now, so you can like absorb more. But at the same time, with this build here, we are also relying on this one here called Mantra of Purity. So if you didn't know, Purifying Brew is like one of your most important spells, because when you take damage, you basically stagger that damage over time. Purifying Brew is clearing 60% of your staggered damage, or a minimum of 8% of your maximum health. Well, with This one here, Purifying Brew, removes 10% additionally stagger and causes you to absorb up to 1,800 incoming stagger, which is insane. So now we can actually control staggering even more to get because of this talent here. So we have 2 charges of Celestial Infusion, we have Mantra of the Purity, and we also have this one here which increases of course the damage we do when we actually use Celestial Infusion, which is nice. Just overall it just gives us a lot of small additional bonuses. Then when it comes to the talents on both sides, the left side here is basically the same as the right side. The only difference we have on the monk page over here is that in the raid build we like to increase how much HP and basically everything our fortifying brew does, but then it also has a 6-minute cooldown. But in the in the dungeon build we like to reduce the cooldown by 2 minutes, so it only has a 4-minute cooldown. That is the only difference in the left side. I have taken all the things that passively give you the best, what I personally feel like is the best passively things, like healing, and also it uses chi wave instead of using chi burst ourselves and so on. I just feel like it's so much more smoother when we run it this way here. Also, something new I discovered: when you use the single button assistant as a Brewmaster Monk, you need to have this talent here called Improved Touch of Death. There's not even a debate. You have to have this talent here, because the single button assistant will very often try to use Touch of Death on targets that has this one here. Basically, Touch of Death can now be used on target with less than 50% health remaining, dealing 35% of your maximum health. So whenever you were attacking a target with 50% less health, it was trying to use Touch of Death even if you didn't have this talent, and then it wouldn't work. So we need to take this talent here, or else it's the single button assistant is literally going to be broken and it's going to stop on 50% health of the mob. So we need to have this talent here no matter what. It is what it is. But beside of that, a lot of passive healing, a lot of passive stuff, which is super great. In the right side here, we are having 2 different things. You can see here that there's small things changing. Not big things, but small things. For example, in the raid build here, we're using Awakening Spirit, where Purifying Brew also surrounds you with protective energy. When staggered damage would deal to you, you instantly absorb up to 50% until 11,000 has been prevented. So basically, again, it increases how much we can stagger, absorbing the stagger damage. You're basically making stagger even better, which is nice on boss fights. Where in the dungeon build we are using this one here, you heal for 40% of all fire and nature damage dealt by your spells abilities. So imagine you're casting a Keg Smash and then Fire Breathe on a lot of mobs. They all burn now, and now you just get passively 40% of healing from all that burning, which is insane. It's really, really good. But that's the main difference down here with these 2 here, where these 2 are quite important ones. They're one of the more important ones here. In the left corner here, we are using Fuel and the Fire in the dungeon build, because it will basically summon fire tornadoes, which is going to deal AoE damage to everyone. Where in the raid build we're using Empty the Cellar, that will throw a lot additionally exploding kicks out. In the dungeon build, we are also using each time you dodge or an enemy misses you, your next Tiger Palm or Spinning Crane Kick deals 100% increased damage. The Spinning Crane Kick damage is super nice when you can just spin and deal way more damage to a lot of different mobs, especially for holding aggro and so on. Also, in the dungeon build here, we can see here up in the top, we're using Staggering Strike, and in the raid build we are using Quick Sip. Purify 5% of your stagger damage each time you gain 3 seconds of shuffle duration. So passively you will just keep purifying your stagger, which is quite nice. But in the dungeon build, that's for the raid build, but in the dungeon build, when you blackout kick, your stagger is reduced by 10,000 and increases up to 200 based on your missing health. So that's just the main difference between those 2 there. But, I mean, else it's just small passives. That is the difference between the 2 builds. The most important things is that with Master, the raid build, we use Master of Harmony, which is giving us basically better purifying staggers, and also gives us more charges of Celestial Infusion, which of course trigger the aspect of the Harmony. Where in the Shadowpan build, we're getting this passive 8% damage reduction all the time in dungeons, and it just gives more AoE damage. But that's kind of the main thing. The rotation, the skills you have at the bottom here is exactly the same. When it comes to rotation, it's actually quite simple. With the single button assistant, it's using spells like Blackout Kick, Breath of Fire, Exploding Kick, Keg Smash, Spinning Crane Kick, Tiger Palm, and Touch of Death. So normally it would start something like casting a Kick Smash, then Breath of Fire, because if you will use Kick Smash first and then Breath of Fire, they will all the enemies will get up, like they will be getting flames on, like a damage over time ability. Then it will go between Tiger Palm and Blackout Kick, but also if there's like more than 2 or 3 monsters or mobs, it will use Spinning Crane Kick. Randomly, it will use Exploding Kick, and Touch of Death it will use every time the enemy is below 50% health or less HP than you. So, as an example, right now what it want to do is that you can see here it wants to use Kick Smash as the first thing, especially because we're far away, and if we get closer, it switches then to Blackout Kick. Far away, Kick Smash, close, Blackout Kick. So, for example, if we start from far away, it wants to use Kick Smash first, and then it wants to use, well, basically from this stance here, once you use Breath of Fire, which will turn them all up. But if we get close, it will actually use Blackout Kick, Kick Smash, Breath of Fire, now Touch of Death because this mob has no HP. But then you can see here, Blackout Kick, Kick Smash, Breath of Fire. Now it used the Exploding Kick. Then you can see the rotation here. It just keeps going between this. So very nice, very handy. Almost no Tiger Palms because it's not really like needed. The other spells are ready whenever they are. And then you can see it just keeps going between this. It uses Spinning Crane Kick right now because there is more than 2 to 3 mobs. If there was only one and it was like single target damage, it wouldn't use Spinning Crane Kick. It would actually be using your Tiger Palm instead. This one here, Tiger Palm Strike. But because there's more than 3 mobs, it will then use your Spinning Crane Kick. I personally like to have Spinning Crane Kick down because, for example, if I had to run through a lot of mobs, I really like to just spam Spinning Crane Kick while running because it both deals damage while you're trying to get a different pack of mobs. So personally, I would recommend still putting down Spinning Crane Kick somewhere on your keyboard, so you can still use it while running between mobs. And then whenever you have all the mobs gathered together, then you can now start using your Single-Button Assistant, and it should automatically use everything that you have to be used. So again, we don't have to worry much about the Single-Button Assistant. It uses quite a good all the abilities you need to be using. Then you might be wondering, okay, what about all the other buttons I have? And this is, I know a lot of new players, they like to hear what is happening here. So first of all, we have Expel Harm. Expel Harm expel negative chi from your body, healing for 2,600 and dealing 10% of the amount healed as nature damage to enemy within 20 yards. So basically heals and deal damage, which is nice. It's also a really cool spell because it just basically heals you, which is nice. So technically just use it whenever it's ready, because it will keep healing you and dealing damage, which is quite nice. We also have this one here where Expel Harm's healing is increased by 5 and critical strike chance increased by 15. So just use it. Use it. Costs almost no energy and it just deals a little bit damage and great healing. Then we have Vivify. The reason for why I have Vivify down is, of course, it's a great spell if you need some self-healing. But we also have this one here. After casting Kick Smash, your next Vivify is instant cast, and this effect also reduces the energy cost of Vivify. So you can see when I use a Kick Smash, boom. Now I can use Vivify, boom, for free. And this is pretty cool. So whenever I use Kick Smash, I can always just heal myself freely. So you can see here. For some reason, these mobs here, these training dummies, they keep breaking your Single-Button Assistant because it thinks that it can use this Touch of Death. So these mobs doesn't work, but for some reason, this one over here works fine. So you can see whenever it casts this Kick or Smash, then I can use Instant Vivify. And then whenever it's ready to use Kick Smash again, then I could do Instant Cast again, Vivify. Boom. Very nice. But also if you use the global, what is it called? The cooldown manager, it will basically show you here, this icon here, whenever you can use that healing. Boom. Which is quite nice. So you got your healing spell on 2 and 3 whenever you have used a Kick Smash. Then, whenever you take damage, as you can see here, if I go to this one here and start attacking it, whenever it deals damage to me, then we will start getting something called Stagger, which will delay a lot of the damage we're supposed to take over time. So if these mobs could start attacking me for some real damage, actually. Now you can see here, we're starting to get Stagger here. So you can see here, Light Stagger. For 3000 damage is being staggered every 0.5 seconds, and then it shows me how much we have stagger. You can also see here the bar under your energy shows basically how much stagger you have. So technically every time you take damage, a lot of the damage is then delayed over time. We can actually see it here, stagger here. Use rock of attacks, delaying a portion of physical damage based on your agility instead of taking it over 10 seconds. Affects magical attacks at 85% effectiveness. So basically, it's best against physical damage, but then magic is like 50%. So you can see here, when I take damage from these mobs here, or these zombies here, it gets then a portion of that is basically getting delayed over time. Which one is it? This one here, the normal tank dummy here. So now when this one here starts attacking me, you can see now I'm starting to stagger. Now my stagger is all the way up to 15 or 40%, you can see up there. Then you have a spell here called Purifying Brew. And basically what it does is that it purifies 50% of your staggered damage, or minimum of your 80% of your maximum health. So you can see whenever I use that, this one here, Purifying Brew, it basically removes 50% of the stagger I have. So you can see here again, I just need some healing. After this, we just quickly self-heal. So you can see here. So now I'm going to get staggered again. We're going to try and get it up. There, 10%. Now I use it. Boom. And in this case, I actually got the entire thing down. But yeah, so Purifying Brew is just helping you to like clear a lot of the stagger. So this is why, like, whenever you're getting a lot of damage, whenever like it's green, your debuff you have at the top right corner, it's not that important to use it. But again, it has like such a low cooldown, so you could technically use it whenever you want to. But the best thing is like whenever like it gets up to the yellow or red, you should be using it to get it down, because it will just be more damage you take every second. And healers is gonna love you because you delay a damage over time. But still, whenever you get a lot of damage and the stagger becomes like very big and you take a lot of damage over seconds, you should be basically using your Purifying Brew all the time to reduce the damage you take from the Purifying Brew. It's basically, it's kind of like, you know, you delay damage and then you can remove that delayed damage by using your Purifying Brew, which is quite nice. Then, besides that, that's like your main abilities, your main cooldown, like your main rotation, healing, and then this one is like the most important one, Purifying Brew, because you remove that delayed damage that you're supposed to take. Cool. Now, imagine this mob here was casting a spell we don't want it to cast, and you have number 5, which is interrupting that target there. Then on number 6, I just have roll. It will roll whatever direction you're moving. Then on this one here, I have Provoke, which is your taunt. So for example, if I use taunt on this target here, it will stop attacking whoever it attacks, and it will start attacking me. It's like great if you're like, you know, pulling all these mobs here, and one of them is like running away from, to your healer, then you could click on that target, click on Provoke, and now the target will come back to you. Then, one of my favorite spells as Brewmaster Monk, I love it. We have Summon Black Ox Statue. Basically, it keeps making threat on all the enemies. Like it keeps imagine you have like a big group of monsters. You can technically just spawn it in the middle of that group of monsters, and it will start like keeping like pulsing out threat to everyone, like taking aggro from all of them. It's not taunting. So summon a black ox statue that at the blah blah blah, pulsing threat to all enemies. It just helps you to basically pull a big group of mobs. Or for example, if you're attacking a group of mobs over here, you can like throw it over there, and it will help you like get ready to take the next group of mobs. Even cooler is this ability, your Provoke spell. This ability can be targeted on your statue of the Black Ox, causing the same effect on all enemies within 10 yards. So if I summon my Black Ox here, and I taunt using my Provoke spell on the Black Ox, it actually taunts everyone in 10 yards. It's an AoE taunt, which is insane. But also like for new players who are like new to tanking, keep summoning this Black Ox statue is just such a great help, because it just helps you like holding aggro and, you know, pulling new groups and so on. Fantastic spell. Then we have Celestial Infusion. Celestial Infusion absorbs 30% of the incoming damage up to 44k. In the raid build, it also triggers this one here, Aspect of Harmony, which deals a lot of damage. But at the same time, we also have this Apex talent down here, where when you use Fortifying Brew or Celestial Infusion, you will throw a refreshing drink on on you and 2 nearby enemies. And then next time you or the 2 enemies takes damage, then you will heal 60k over 8 seconds. So at the same time that it, gives you a shield, it also gives you this healing brew. And then next time you take damage, it will basically heal that 60k now over 8 seconds, which is quite nice. So at the same time, it gives you Absorb Shield, it deals damage in the raid build, and it also now gives you a healing potion, which is quite nice. So yeah. Then we have Invoke the Black Ox, which is basically a damage, well, it's a damage rotation, and it's a damage cooldown and a defensive cooldown. You're basically summoning this Ox here, which deals a lot of damage, like you can see here. Deals damage, stomping, using a stomp ability that like deals AoE damage, I believe. Together with our rotation, you can see here, attacks your primary target and stomps when you cast Blackout Kick. So basically, yeah, whenever you use Blackout Kick, it will do AoE attack. While active, 40% of the damage delayed by Stagger is instead staggered by Neuso, which is that Ox there. And Neuso is healed for 100% of your purified Stagger. So now that Ox is actually taking a lot of my delayed damage over to it, and then at the same time, whenever I purify Stagger, it will heal the Ox. So basically, it's kind of like a co-tank with you. It helps you taking damage off you, and it also helps you like dealing damage and doing AoE damage. So it's just like a super great talent, cooldown, sorry, which you should always be using. Then we have Fortifying Brew. It increases your current maximum health by 20 and reduces all damage you take by 20%. Then we have Leg Sweep. It's an AoE stun, so if I used it here, it will basically stun them all for 3 seconds, but it's also a great spell if you want to like interrupt them all casting or stopping them for damaging. Maybe you can see your HP is getting low, and this would basically give your healer a 3-second window. We also have Ring of Peace, which is such a powerful spell. If all these mobs here were casting a spell and you want to interrupt them, your Spear Hand Strike would only interrupt them like, one of the targets. Your Leg Sweep is of course interrupting them all if they can be stunned. But if you use Ring of Peace, it will basically push them out all of the circle, which gives you a second spell that can interrupt all the mobs. So first you can stun them all, and then after you can use Ring of Peace to basically move them, push them, and they will also stop interrupting. And then you have another crowd control spell, which is Paralyzes, which would technically, this enemy here, it's kind of like Sheep as a mage. It basically makes them like not movable for 1 minute, but if you attack them, it gets cancelled. So a lot of crowd control spells. Then we have Tiger's Lust, increases your friendly target movement speed by 70% and remove all roots and snares. A great spell for like moving fast, or if you want to remove like roots and snares. Then we also have Crackling Jade Lightning. That one isn't really that useful, but I mean you can use it and it will deal damage to like a target far away if needed. And then we also have Transcendence. You can set up like a Transcendence here. Then you, for example, you could pull a group of mobs and you can use the Teleport Transcendence, and then it will go back here, and of course the mobs will also come back to you here. And then I got the Spinning Crane Kick because I like to have it down on my keyboard in case I have to move from one group of mobs to another group of mobs. Alright. That was the spells, the rotation, and just as a reminder, we have tons of things in this build here that heals us. Every time we take damage, we have a chance to summon a Healing Sapphire. Every time we deal damage with Blackout Kick, we have a chance to Healing Sapphire. And now we have improved the Healing Sapphire, so instead it will actually heal you for 80% based on your missing health, so it will heal you more, but it will heal you over 10 seconds now, which is very nice. At the same time, Purifying Brew instantly healed you for 25% of the staggered damage it clears. Also, we have this one here in the dungeon build, which heals you for 40% of all the fire and nature damage you deal. So like, and we of course have the healing potion here. We also got healing from Chi Wave over here. Yeah, so a lot of like passive healing that is in this spec here. So at the same time, we're staggering damage over time. We also just heal insane, especially if you use your number 2 and 3 whenever they like. Number 2 whenever it's off cooldown, and 3 when after like Kick Smash, so you get an instant one. But let me try show you this in a dungeon and show you basically how I would do. Regarding rotation, important fact that I forgot to say, when you keep spawning these Healing Sapphires, your expel harm actually draws in all those healing spheres as well. So you don't have to like run around and, you know, get those healing spheres to get your healing over time. You actually just use expel harm, which of course is going to heal you a little bit, but it also is going to draw in all the healing spheres you have around you, which of course is why it's important to keep using it. But you can actually see the number on the spell, how many spheres you will. So using it just out of the box is not going to do much, since it's only going to heal you for 2000. But for each healing sphere you draw in, it's going to give you like a lot of healing. So you can see whenever like you use, I believe it's Blackout Kick, and whenever you take damage, you have a chance to spawn these orbs, very importantly. So now you can see we have 2 orbs. I'm not going to use expel harm yet. You can see it's there. Technically, I just have to move 1 centimeter to the right and it would get it in. But I'm just going to try a way to spawn 1 more orb. So there we go. Now we have 2 orbs spawned. So now when I use expel harm, pressing 2, you can see that I get both of the healings, and it will now heal me for 4000 every second. Second. But basically, the more orbs you have, when you draw them in, it will heal you more over time. Before we had 13,000 healing every second, because I had like 4 orbs or something like that. But yeah, so just an important fact that I totally forgot to talk about, that expel harm, of course, is a healing spell and damage spell, but it also draws in all your orbs, so you don't have to like chase them while also playing. Just important fact. So, for example, when starting pulling, for example, this entire room here, what I would probably do is you could start like spamming, you know, the Single-Button Assistant on each of them, and it will use your strongest spell on them, which probably would be maybe the best in most cases, because if you have a team who's gonna start really like attacking hard on all the mobs, then only spamming Spinning Crane Kick will probably not be enough to hold aggro. But if you talk with them on voice, you could technically tell them, hey, wait 5 seconds with attacking and let me just pull everything quickly. Since most people is not gonna wait, maybe just spamming Single-Button Assistant would be the best choice, because it will actually deal like the most damage spells. Even though I still like to just like, you know, spam some Spinning Crane Kick, because, you know, then you do AoE damage to everyone and you can just like run with them. Now we got all the mobs. Now we could just kind of gather them all together. Now it's important to get all the mobs in front of you, because then it will use Kick Smash to basically give them all the Kick Smash ability on. And then when you use your Breath of Fire, it will put them all on fire. Now you just keep spamming 1, and there you go. Now you can see our staggering is all up on the way on the red one, which is not good. So you want to use your Purifying Brew to basically reduce it. So keep using your Purifying Brew whenever it gets up to like yellow, red. Now you can see what's back on yellow, but also we have like this one here that keeps like reducing it also for us. But you can also see it sometimes glows. Whenever it glows, press it. Now move over the group here. Then of course we can keep pressing 2 for like, you know, a little bit of damage and self-healing. And whenever we have used Kick Smash, I can also use 3 for self-healing. And then just press 1. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. And now you can see my Purifying Brew is glowing in. So we can press 4 on it, use it to remove some Stagger. And at the same time, when you're using your Purifying Brew, it also throws up that drink you just drank, and it will fall down and actually deal AoE damage, which is quite good. So here you can see from the healing meter that we actually did okay healing. We did a lot of healing from our Fire and Nature damage here, Celestial Fortune, which is the one every time the healer heals you, you have a chance to actually, you know, crit with that and heal 70% additionally. We got some Chi Transfer, Touch of Death. This is basically my Touch of Death that is healing me a lot. Then we got the Union Grace, which is this one here, which passively gives us a shield against magic. And then we have the Healing Orbs, which is healing over time now, which you keep spawning. So, very nice. In this pull here, of course, I didn't use Celestial Infusion, which of course would give me an Absorb Shield, and also give me the Healing Elixir. And I could also have used my Invoke Black Ox, which would have helped me with staggering damage, and it will also help me with AoE damage. We could, for example, use it now. So we're going to use the Black Ox now. We're going to keep spamming 1, just keep spamming 1 while we are running through all the different mobs. And now we can just spam 1 and just keep damaging. And whenever your stagger gets up a little bit, you can see here, like it's on 20%, you can just use it to reduce the damage. And use it to reduce the damage. And whenever you're like keeping attacking here, Now our Purifying Brew is ready again, but we don't really have any Stagger on, so we're not going to be using it. And again, you can keep using your 2 whenever you want for like the extra damage and healing, and you can use your number 3 whenever like you feel like healing some additionally after you've using Kick Smash. Yeah. As a new player, it's also very nice to have this Black Ox statue, because you can technically throw it into the room first and all the mobs here will attack it. It's not going to deal that much threat, so if you don't attack and the other team members they start attacking, then you will see they very quickly take the aggro of the mobs. So what you would do basically after you have used that one is that you would use the Black Ox statue in here, the mobs will attack it, and then you taunt it, and then it taunts everyone around it, which is very nice. So because I taunted the statue, it taunted everyone around it. So you kind of have to be a little bit fast. You need to use the statue and then taunt the statue very fast. You can also do a macro on that if you wanted. But yeah, basically that's going to help you take aggro on all the mobs around it, because it basically will take aggro on all of them. Then you taunt it, and it taunts everyone around it, which is quite nice. Now, as an example, going into the raid build against the boss here, I know in a dungeon you wouldn't change to the raid build, because I'm pretty sure in Midfake dungeons you can't even switch spec in the, while in the dungeon. But just an example, now we are in the raid build here, which is using Master of Harmony, which gives us more charges of Celestial Infusion, which means double healing potions. And also now we're going to use Celestial Infusion to deal more single target damage with the aspect of Harmony. So basically we're going to store Vitality, we're going to use it out. But that's like the main differences. But let's try. We're going to be using our cooldowns, our Invoke. And now we're just going to be keep spamming 1. And of course, move out of stuff that we need to be moved out on. But once keep spamming 1, you can see deal damage. We also do healing here from all the different passive healing stuff we're doing. At the same time here now, you can see we'll be using Expel Harm. Expel Harm is of course healing you. But it also draws in, I probably forgot to mention that in the video, that Expel Harms is actually also drawing in all your healing spheres. So your healing spheres will keep spawning when you deal damage and you take damage. And when you have enough orbs of them, you could use your number 2 and it will like draw in all the different orbs. When my stagger gets high, I'm going to use my number 4 to basically reduce. You can see my stagger now is on almost 40%. So I'm going to use my Purifying Brew, which is going to remove a lot of the stagger. Then of course I can use my number 3 for healing, use my Fortifying Brew cooldown, and 1 for like big damage reduction. Now you can see my stagger's up on 30% again, so I'm going to be using my Fortifying Brew. And we could use Expel Harm to heal a little bit, and also again draw in all the healing orbs. That's pretty much it. But again, I probably forgot to mention, very importantly, that Expel Harm also draws in the positive chi of all your healing spheres and increase your the healing expel of harm. So when you actually have like made a lot of like healing spheres around you, you don't have to like run into them manually. You could just use your Expel Harm and it will like draw them in. Important fact. But yeah. So thanks for watching my little Brewmaster single-button guide. I hope this video helped you to understand how this spec works and how you can play it. And basically anyone should be able to jump in using this spec with the single-button assistant and have a good time as a tank. Trust me, it's going to be fun. You'll do great damage, healing, holding threat. It's just going to be good fun. So thanks for watching, have a great day, and in case you want to support, feel free to subscribe to the channel, even become a YouTube member, and your name will be in the end of the video as well. And if you want all my talents, builds, UI, different things that you have seen in the video, they are all in my Discord. You will find the link in the description. Thanks for watching and have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.